I definitely want to start out this video by thanking a lot of you for giving the last video your time of day. For those of you who may be following up after that one, this was unexpected for me entirely. This video was just, meant to just throw some opinion out there and, just see what other people thought about it. But I was not expecting it to blow up to this proportion as the way that it has. This channel was at 15 subscribers at the time when that video was posted 5 days ago. And now we're at 132 subscribers following that video. That is insanity to me. I really wasn't expecting the video to reach as many eyes as it did. I'm humbled by the experience, and I'm very grateful for everyone that has taken their time out to even watch it. Shared your opinion on the video, whether you agreed with me or disagreed with me. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is that, seeing the life inside of people who care about something, something as innocent as a gaming franchise, seeing how much it's drives people's curiosities and having their own feels about it just shows you the impact that Poppy Playtime has brought to a lot of people and the passion that they have behind the game. Because I know one thing for certain, while we all have our agreements and disagreements here and there on the way that things have been handled, I know one thing for certainty is that at the end of the day, we all enjoy Poppy Playtime and we want to see it succeed. That's the biggest thing to me. Today, I just wanted to follow up with that video, talk a little bit more about thoughts that I may have also regarding the handling of the franchise, and wanted to see where your head's at as we gear towards another possible year before we hear back from these guys on what they have cooking for us again. But I also want to start out by going over some comments that also tweak my interest to follow up on, that's for sure. I want to start with our first comment here. With this guy, he says, I don't agree on characters needing to be teased the chapter before. It gives more creative freedom for future chapters and makes sense. Remember, this is a toy factory and there are thousands of toys we probably don't know about. I wholeheartedly agree on Lily being disposed of too quickly. Unlike the other characters, she didn't have the leverage to be the main antagonist of the chapter and felt like a waste of a good character. I definitely agree about that when it comes to Lily. Now, my follow-up feeling about this comment is I definitely agree that Lily was disposed of way too quick. For a character who played such a big role in the conditioning of the kids as Miss Gracie prior to her being turned into a toy by the prototype, I want to follow up on why him and I disagree on them having to mention the characters prior to the chapter. For me, it adds depth into their character and placement in the world of the narrative. When I look at these chapters, I'm approaching them as a full game because someday Poppy Playtime will release its final chapter. And for someone out there who hasn't played it yet, by then, we'll be purchasing it as a full released title. So when I'm looking at it, I'm viewing it as I would a full released game. A loose example I would give is like a Resident Evil game, which I guess, just pops up in my mind because Requiem just recently came out. Basically how Resident Evil has notes and mentions of other characters in the world similar to Poppy Playtime, I would just like for them to continue to do this, but be sure to do so for the characters prior to us seeing them. Lily had no foundation when she was brought into the story, despite her important role of conditioning the subjects prior and after their experiments of being turned into toys. Plus, I'd argue against his statement about the creative freedom, about it limiting their creative freedom anyway, because for me, the way I view it is if you're writing a story, you have all the freedom to make characters, mention, and fully flesh them out. If Lily was always a character meant to be shown off, it's not limiting to have notes mentioning something small like, Miss Gracie will be handling subject experiment 1170's conditioning. We will follow up after further inspection of his physical endurance and behavior patterns under stress, and so on. If anything, I feel like it just adds that history into her character because now we know she handled Huggy's conditioning, and then we already experienced later on that we get to see it from his perspective in chapter 6 when we view his memories. So while I agree about Lily, I disagree that having lore persistent to the story and the foundation building of a character limits their creative freedom. That would only make sense if what I said earlier is true, is that it feels like they're making it up as they go from chapter to chapter. Second comment I wanted to go over shows the real issue is somehow not a single one of these games ever bothered to learn the mistakes of Bendy and the Ink Machine. All of this is just what happened back then. Literally every mascot horror since Bendy has inevitably developed to Bendy. Not that they all have the same issues, but all the issues mascot horror games have tend to come from the fact they're made chapter to chapter with constant audience feedback and even direct control. Alice Angel was only a main character because fans liked her. FNAF's mystical box, basically the mystery box, it changed contents like 4 times because MatPat. All of Ban Ban is just audience fan service at this point. If you don't plan a story and just make it up as you go, you barely have a story. If every event in the game is somewhat dictated by players' direct reactions to a previous chapter, does the game even have any artistic merit at all at that point? Like, the artistic vision is non-existent at that point. They just wrote what the fans wanted. At what point can we agree this is just mindless nonsense to sell the toys to kids? That's definitely very, very deep there. That's a very deep thought that actually had me thinking a little bit, because I definitely agree with him. I would definitely hope they are not letting the fans dictate their story, because this just adds to my saying once again that it feels like they don't have a story and are just making it up as they go. Adding new characters, possibly to purely sell merch, despite them killing the characters off in quick fashion within the same chapter they're introduced in. Funny that he mentions FNAF, because I also have love for FNAF. Did I say FNAF? For Five Nights at Freddy's, but I must say I hate the accept as it is approach to some of its lore. What I mean by that is sometimes things feel impossible inside of FNAF, or don't make much sense how it occurred, but it's FNAF, so we just accept it and keep going. I don't feel like everything needs to be explained per se, but I feel like FNAF allows that gap to be a bit wide to where fan theories carry the franchise heavily, and you lose track of the story being told to you by Scott himself, unless you're I guess one of the big brains like the game theorist, or you're reading wikis a bunch to keep caught up on this stuff. But the game's lore is just so convoluted up to this point and heavily theorized over all these years, to where even the damn movies coming out that are being made have barely anything to do with the games. Like, the story's directions don't link whatsoever, and that's a story for another day before I find myself getting too off topic into a whole nother franchise. For the third comment here, which I'll probably make the finale before I start brushing on elsewhere, it says, it's honestly a waste. I feel like we should, I don't know, care about the characters. I think a lot of mascot horror is so obsessed with being unpredictable and messed up that they become very messy. I think this is why I like Bendy and Indigo Park so much. They feel a lot more grounded, and we get to spend time getting to know the monsters, either through talking with them or through someone who knew them. Poppy Playtime should have set off all kinds of alarms when the facilities started eating orphans, even ones about to be adopted. Plus, the grab packs are pretty silly, would make the jobs incredibly difficult, nor are they disability friendly. I love the concept behind Poppy Playtime, but its execution is really bad and the gameplay is just really bad. It's a lot of walking with almost no threats and a lot of chase sequences. I don't think it knows what else to do, like sneaking across a room or a hide and seek where you have to move from hiding place to hiding place without being seen or heard. Or a puzzle like the Breaker puzzle in FNAF's sister location, where you're trying to fix something but also pacify a murderous toy. Or the Night 4 puzzle in that game, where you're trapped and you're trying to free yourself but don't die. Which the memory game in Chapter 2 kind of was like. I think this is why Chapter 2 is so beloved, because it has these kind of elements, like, yay, we killed the toy we just met. Yippee. I wholeheartedly understand where this one is coming from. Bendy cleaned up his approach very well a long time ago, I feel like, and that's definitely why I love the Dark Revival. The twist with the mini Bendy, the returning characters and everything. After they decided to stop releasing chapters individually, I honestly feel like the structure of the storytelling improved greatly, and the game's polish and quality and art direction was all the better for it over the time. Just like the previous one, another brief mention of FNAF here, which should tell you, despite the holes in FNAF's shield, the impression and foundation it has laid for titles like Bendy and Poppy Playtime is historical. Yes, Sister Location added a different perspective that FNAF fans were not used to. The crawling through the vents, the mini games, the moving in the dark using sound to depict when and when you shouldn't move. The game is definitely one of my favorites from Scott. The guy never stopped trying to innovate and raise the bar of expectations, even when he had fallen short with FNAF World. This comment also echoed what the other one mentioned when it talks about the mascot horrors trying to be a bit unpredictable, which I guess definitely is what Poppy Playtime has definitely tried to be with how sudden the mention of characters have been. Definitely reminds me of when that other comment said that the mystery box kept changing because of MatPat. Scott even admitted to this back then, that whatever was in that box kept changing because MatPat's theories kept getting closer and closer to where there wasn't much of a mystery anymore from Scott's perspective. This made him change it, which in results made plot holes in his storytelling at the time, causing a mess. I think, yeah, writers definitely got to understand it's okay to let your audience guess what's to come next sometimes. Not everything needs to be a secretly kept formula because, like I said, for those like myself who can't really drift towards it, it kind of makes it feel like you're bringing it in at last minute, which doesn't make the world feel like a full circle. It just feels like a linear path where we're just dropping things on it, then pushing them off and moving on to the next. Not much change in the path whatsoever, no curves or differences from what we had when we first started to now type of feeling. I want you to ask yourself, what did we have at the beginning of chapter 6 that we didn't have by the end of it? What did we not have at the beginning of chapter 6 that we now have by the end of it? Gibble it. But I'm gonna try to leave it there, man. You know, this video is already getting longer than I meant for it to be anyway. Trying to cut it down this time in comparison to last time, but just wanted to genuinely say I appreciate you guys checking in and, you know, just wasting your time away on a little video from a small channel like mine. But I also wanted to leave you guys with a question. Let's try throwing away all the knowledge that you've gained about the game outside of it, right? I want you to, like, if you found yourself learning any lore outside of the actual Poppy Playtime game, I would want for you to imagine yourself not knowing any of that information, none of those theories and all. And if you were to play the game as it is today, back to back, all 5 chapters, as a single game, do you believe with everything they've presented to us in the game itself, that the story would actually make sense to you? Or does it only feel deep because we have a year between chapters to invent our own theories here and there? Or, you know, find out all these little side things from extra stuff that's outside of the game through trailers and all that and so on. I really want to hear what you think, and if the story holds up without the YouTube theorist help and all that. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next video, man. There were so many great comments that I wish I could fit into one video, but I would be here all day with you. And I don't think we all have that much time ahead of us. But until the next time, I hope you guys are enjoying your week. I'm gonna get on up out of here. But bye for now.